The Brandon Peters Show may contain explicit language and detailed plot points. For more information on the show, stay tuned to the end of the episode. And now, here's Brandon.
All right. Welcome back for another exciting week here on the Brandon Peters Show. Today we have a discussion on the 2011 film Absentia. And accompanying me in that chat, I have from Morbidly Beautiful and the Devil's Kettle Drama Club, my neighbor to the south, Jamie Alvey. It is Alvey, right? I forgot to ask you that.
It's Alvey. It is Alvey.
Jamie Alvey. Well, hello.
I get all kinds of weird pronunciations too. My favorite is Alvey. I'm like, that sounds super stately.
What about Alvey? Alvey.
I've not gotten that yet.
But
I also get Alvery and sometimes Avery. And I'm like, oh, okay. There's no R there, but
when the L is really slim and you can't see it, it's Avery. Fair enough. Fair enough.
100%.
Well, welcome.
So, thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for coming on. And you've got a banger of a pick here to talk about film-wise, so I'm very excited about that. But first, let's talk about you a little bit. You're notable. I mean, one of your more known things is that you're big in the horror. You're one of the big horror people. And I always love with horror because I'm horror nut myself, but I'm like, what's your genesis of falling in love with horror? What was your little first little taste that got you hooked for life on horror?
Well, my mother definitely 100%. My mother has always loved horror movies. Like from the time that she was like very young, her aunt actually snuck her to The Exorcist when it was in theaters, and she was like 11, I think, and it terrified her, and she's just been watching horror movies ever since. So I just kind of grew up with it, and it's something that we've bonded over. So it's mom. You can blame her. My dad's not as big on them as my mother, but he'll watch them. He's like, I can't do it now because my nerves are shot.
Gotcha.
But mom, 100%, she is always watching some kind of horror movie.
Gotcha. What were some of the earliest ones she pushed on you to give you the impression?
Oh my gosh, I remember like the 74 Carrie, Pet Cemetery, just pretty much a lot of Stephen King adaptations, stuff like that, and it just snowballed.
Yeah, you want that feeling over and over again, even if it's too terrifying. It's great. We'll get to now. You're a writer yourself, but writing about film, like how did that evolve out of, because you were a writer at Morbidly Beautiful, and you've written some fine pieces there. I haven't read all of them. I haven't collected them all yet, but I have read through plenty. But like, what inspired you to write about film?
So I have a literature background. I have an English degree and I have a literature master's in literature. I've always loved acting and storytelling, period. I have a theater minor too in there, but I've always loved analytical stuff, analytical pieces, some of my favorite stuff to write. So basically that grew out of just my absolute love of writing research papers in undergrad, because I was like, I love analyzing stuff. I love this. And I just was like, I'm going to keep doing it.
Very, very good. What are some of the, like, that you feel like some of your strongest analysis have been, or one that you put down and you're like, I really like that piece?
I like one of my first ones is one that I had wanted to do forever, was an explication of 10 Cloverfield Lane and how it pretty much encompasses, it's like a bottle drama of the female experience, because there's just so much going on because, you know, she's got these two men, and you have Emmett, who is relatively, he's not threatening, and then you have Howard, who is horrifying
Mm-hmm.
and encompasses everything you can imagine about toxic masculinity. So that was one of my first pieces that I came out with, um, and my foray into the whole writing community, my first official one. And I still love that one. Reese, I did one over 74 Black Christmas and the 2019 Black Christmas.
Okay.
I love those. I loved doing those. Super fun to write about, even though it's some really heavy subject matter. It's stuff that really needs to be brought to attention. But I have written so much about the Invisible Man here recently, and that was one of, I remember like coming home from the theater, I wrote my review,
Mm-hmm.
went to bed, cried myself to sleep because I was so anxious from watching that movie. And then I got up the next day and I started writing an analysis over that. And I'm just still in love with that one too. And
That was the best
recently,
film of 2020 according to this guy. So.
oh, I agree. I was thinking about it. I was like, you know, there's the Invisible Man and then there's Relic. Those were
Mm-hmm.
my top two.
Gotcha.
And it's just so funny because Natalie Erica James was like mentored by Lee Winnell.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, that's awesome. Just that they're
Yeah.
just like right up there for me. It's so cool. But recently I wrote an analysis for Film Days' horror issue,
Mm-hmm.
which was their October release. And I talked about Hill House and Oculus, since we're getting into talking about Absentia, which I would focus a lot on Flanagan's works. And I wrote a piece recently about Tucker and Dale and the patriarchy,
Mm-hmm.
for Film Cred, which is very near and dear to my heart because I was like, this is an off the wall topic,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to do it.
There you go. There you go. I will have to say, I adore your appreciation for the modern. I guess we'll call it modern. Since it's only is it a year old? The Black Christmas, the latest film to take the title of Black Christmas. Because I have myself, I saw it and I appreciate it. Like I like things about it. It wasn't quite there for me, but through you and some others that I've been with your collation, I've learned and found a better appreciation for it. And definitely like it a lot more than I originally did, and I can see some things that maybe I wasn't seeing before. So I do love that about
Thank
that. So
you.
yeah.
I think it's awesome how, like, you know, just reading different perspectives on stuff can
Mm-hmm.
really bring stuff home for you. Like,
Right.
and I'm one of those people that sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't think one watch did it for me. I have to go watch it again because I'm like,
Oh yeah.
just hang on here. Give me a second. I got to go watch it again.
Right.
I'm one of those people.
Oh,
So.
I tend to be more eager to check out a film that maybe I was lukewarm on or cold on because I want to see it again because I think some of your daily routines with things affect how you watch a film. Like if I was planning on going to see a film in the theater back when we did those things, and I was having like, oh, I was in a bad mood or something, I would just cancel my plans to go see it because I'm like, that's not fair to the film that I'm going into it angry or upset or something weird. But I'm odd, so that's how. But
No, I'm like that too because
mhm.
I remember the first time I watched The Witch, I can't remember what was wrong, but I was just like, I don't feel great. And it
Yeah.
totally affected how I saw that film. And then I watched it again and I was like, you know what? This is great. What the hell was wrong with me?
Well, you want to know what happened with me? That happened with me in Doctor Sleep. I was not amused with it the first, like I liked the first 3/4 of it, and I was just like, but I was at the time I saw it the first time. I was going through some life things at the time, and I think that was bothering me. And then months later, I watched the director's cut when that came out, and I was like, what the hell? I love this thing. What was wrong with me? I totally saw, and so I was glad that I do that and I give something. Plus, that director's cut is way better cut of the version of the film. But I was like, okay, what was wrong with me? I was like, it must have been my life getting in the way of my analysis or way to take it in. So definitely, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Taking in. But yeah, it was really weird. Yeah, Dr. Sleep was one that happened to me, and I felt like an idiot the second time I watched it. But at least I like it now.
You always do. You're always like, what was wrong with me at that time? Dr. Sleep's another one that I just came home and I cried about because I'm one of those people. If I try to hold it in,
Yeah.
when I'm in the theater because I don't want people to look at me and be like, is this bitch okay? Is she okay? Because I have a history of if I like a movie, I'm really into it.
Mhm.
I'm really into it to the point that it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I I've been known to scream, and like literally I screamed watching 10 Cloverfield Lane in the theater, and there was one guy that was in there that wasn't with me and my friends, and he turned and looked back at me like, what? So ever since then I've kind of tried to keep a lid on it, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. At chapter 2, I literally looked at my friend Leslie, tears coming down my face. I go, get me out of here before they think something's wrong with me.
I got salt from the popcorn in my eye. I wiped.
I'm totally not crying over these dead people and their friendship and all the
These made up people and the made up relationships. So they just got to me. Hey, I recently had I had a top 10 soundtrack songs of the 90s episode, and I opened up about being moved by the end of Phenomenon with John Travolta as a kid. So it's all good. It's all good. Speaking of dramas, acting stuff, you do you help run the Devil's Kettle Drama Club? Is that yours, or do you run it with other? Or...
Yeah, I actually started the thing
There you
because
go.
I was like, you know what? The pandemic, it's awful. And I was like, I had been wanting to do a read of the script for Jennifer's Body forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that'll be something fun to do. So we just kept doing it. And that's how it happened.
Gotcha. How, like, as a person who gets anxiety over trying to get, if I do a one person as a guest, let alone sometimes I do 3, like, how you get a lot of people to get there, like, how worked up do you get about all of them showing up to make it work at the time? Like,
Well,
that's
usually it works out because sometimes if something happens, we always have somebody to jump in. I've
okay.
had times where people were sick and I hopped in and I did another role on the fly. So actually that's one thing that I can say about all of them. Everybody has been great. Everything has worked out. Everybody's always willing to, pick up
Mhm.
pieces if they need to. So weirdly enough, the first one was the only time I was stressed.
Gotcha.
The rest have been
Now it's just
amazing.
well-oiled machine. Go through. Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough. And I've watched a couple of them. I found it because one of your regulars, Molly Henry, was on here, and she told me about she was doing one that week. So I watched that, and I was like, do a lot of cool stuff. It's a lot of fun. I definitely. And I haven't watched the whole thing,
I
but
love Molly, and
who doesn't? But anyways, but yeah. So when those are up, definitely check those out. Those are a lot of fun with a lot of fun people that bring a lot of great, unique energy to these classic scripts or recent scripts that could be classics or are now classics. So, I really talk about your screenplay for film Bystanders, which would you like to describe what that's about rather than have my word vomit tainted?
the log line pretty much goes like it's a couple are coming home from a wedding and they run into a bunch of murderous frat boys, but here's the catch: the frat boys get more than they bargain for in this case. I have been working on the idea for this came to me in late 2016. So I've been
Mhm.
working on this for a long time. Like I had the
Mm.
first draft early 2017 done, and
Oh,
I'm going into what I hope is the final draft, and
okay.
it's off the wall.
Off the wall.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel privileged you let me read it. Anytime someone's like, here's a piece of my passion and shares it, I appreciate that. It's a graphic kind of fun time in a bit. Uh it's yeah, just does it come like where did it hit you that this is what I'm writing? I got to see this idea out. Did it come in chunks? Did you just start and follow it through, or was this just
It,
all at once hit you?
it just all at once hit me. I knew what I was going to do. And it happened like pretty much this was around the same time that, a lot of the stuff with Brock Turner was happening.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
All right.
that really kind of motivated. It's like I have to see this through to the end because
I
that was
like it
really
even more now.
yeah, that was really a motivating factor for,
Yeah.
uh, the content and the subject matter and what
Hmm.
it was saying because I was just had so and I still have so many just bottled up feelings about that because it's just so indicative of our culture as a whole and how it's like, oh, you're a rapist, but we're just gonna slap you on the wrist because of who you are. And that really motivated me. And what still motivates me is I've had a lot of my students open up to me about their own assaults in their writing, kind of trying to purge
Hmm.
that through their writing. And it just really is something that actually keeps me going with it and that's why I'm so persistent and why I've thrown myself in it 100% because I was like, I believe in what this is saying. I believe in the commentary in it. And not just that, I believe in the quality of it as well. I think that it's an interesting way to tackle this issue and several other issues that are broached within it.
So
So,
so yeah, no, bystanders is a really honest and like doesn't like you don't hold back anything. That's what I loved about it. It's just all out there. It's not subtle. It's gut punchy, real gut punchy. Gut. Oh yeah, you do some nasty things in there, and I love it. So definitely.
that's the thing. I was like, this is the meanest thing I've ever written. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go all in on it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just going to go all in. Emily was jokingly, she was like, can we brand this as feminist torture porn almost? And I was like, oh my God.
Oh no, no, no. So are you going to like you had talked about doing maybe like a proof of concept or like kickstarting something? Is that still in the cards?
Yeah, we're still talking about it because everything just the ongoing issue of the pandemic alone has kind
These
of gotten
times
us,
we live in. Yes.
these times we live in have because I was like, you know what, do I want to go because we're going to go through with something. We don't know if we're going to do the proof of concept yet
Hmm.
or if we're just going to go through and say screw it, we're going to fund it the whole thing and try to get it made and throw it out there. So we have some avenues, and I say we because it's like I have like a small team of my friends and I that are super behind me and all of this. So I'm really lucky that I have so many people that are interested in it, and I'm so thankful.
Excellent.
But we're looking at different avenues right now.
Well, bystanders, I look forward to following it, continuing to see how it develops, grows, because it's a exciting little screenplay. And I already I talked about it back in like November on one of my episodes too. So I was pretty happy that.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you like it.
Yep.
Every time somebody's like, I love this, it really
You
means a
like
lot
my
to
word
me.
jumble? Cool, cool. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way about myself. Like, okay, sure, sure. But no, it's a really fun thing. I mean, it's yeah. I there's so much I read in there. I'm like, I want to see that come to life. I want to see how that looks visually. Yeah, good stuff. Definitely. All right. Anything else you want to cover? We can move to Absentia.
I'm good. Yeah.
All right. Absentia is written and directed by Mike Flanagan and stars Courtney Bell, Katie Parker, Dave Levine, Doug Jones, and Morgan Peter Brown. It is about a woman and her sister. They begin to link a mysterious tunnel to a series of disappearances, including that of her own husband. So, like everybody else, and this is a excellent pick. When I talk about people at the show picking ones, you aced it, and you only brought one to the table. You're like, this one, I'm like, perfect. So why Absentia for everything, or to bring to the show?
I watched Absentia like in I think my sophomore year of college. So we're talking like 2013, 2014. Um, I am a very withdrawn kind of person, even though I'm actually very introverted. So I would just sit and watch horror movies by myself a lot of the time. And I just watched Absentia on Netflix one evening and I was completely blown away. Like, I was like, this is it. This is what I've just always wanted out of horror. This is what I love about horror movies. And I just felt like just this artistic connection because I was like, this is what I want to do. Right. And it's just really stuck with me. And I wish that I could just bottle that feeling forever. And I'm in love with it still. It's an enduring love affair. And I joke that Mike Flanagan is the only man who has never let me down. But at this point, is it really a joke?
Right. No, actually, if you look back at the last decade, he has probably one of the best outputs, inarguably. Like,
amazing.
Yeah, I was looking back and I'm like, ooh, like all his stuff was from here onward. I mean, he's got shorts and other little independent things from the previous decade, but like right here, starting Absentia, all the way through to, well, we're going to stop at 2019 and call Dr. Sleep, and we'll have Haunting a Bly Manor for the next decade, sure. But so he's already on a good start for this decade. But yeah, like his output, I was looking, I'm like, that's pretty astounding what he pulled off here. Like,
like I just love just his work ethic and just hearing him talk about, working and stuff because I really feel I really relate to that because I'm one of those people that I just work meticulously and I try to have like a huge output with things and I really throw myself into that. So I see a lot of myself there. And I was like, he's just create. It's always wonderful when you find somebody creatively that you just really jive with. And Mike Flanagan is one of those for me. And I'm so thankful to past me for being like, what, this looks neat, and then being like, oh my God, this is perfect. I love it.
Right. What about his work like inspires you thematically and like with through his films?
Honestly, Hush came out in early 2016. And then of course the idea for Bystanders came in the late 2016. So really, I know it's like a weird A to B here, but that was how that film was shot and how just brutally bare bones and just still beautiful and meaningful really kind of shaped how I wanted Bystanders made.
Gotcha.
And that's one of the things that really sticks with me still. And just overall, the fact that he centers these really realistic human stories in his horror. His horror is always based in emotional realness.
Yeah.
And that is something that I have kept with me as a creative myself, because that's what really speaks to me in horror. Like, yeah, I like fun and I like blood and guts, but that just, I love being emotionally wrecked. I love that breathlessness
Mm-hmm.
and just being so utterly invested in the characters and the storyline. And that is something that has just really impacted me when it comes to his work, because it's always been so, it's an emotional experience.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember not long after that, I saw he only had Oculus out at this time,
Yeah.
Absentia and Oculus. I sought out Oculus right away.
All right.
And my God, that ending, the end of Oculus,
Mm-hmm.
angry cry,
Angry.
angry cry. I was like, this is, but it was just so purposeful, and just that parallelism,
Mm-hmm.
how he brought those two timelines together and wrapped that up so beautifully in the bookends there. Chills, chills talking about it.
Right. He's kind of got that thing where sort of like Judd Apatow with comedies, where you could take out the horror parts and they still work as dramas.
Mhm.
That's how much detail he pays to the characters and the actual through line of the narrative. I'll admit this was a blind spot for me. I hadn't seen it till this. So I appreciate you bringing it to the table. It would been on like one of those, like, yeah, I'll get to it, and then it just
I know.
floated away.
I chose this purposely because it is such, everybody's like, oh, Flanagan, Flanagan, Flanagan. And I'm like, but have you seen Absentia?
Oh, you're going hipster on him there. Yeah. I was there
No,
since
no, and it's like,
Absentia. So
no, it's like, if you really like him, because I know a lot of
Mhm.
people try to discount earlier works of artists
Oh,
for
no,
some weird
no.
reason. And I'm like, no, he was good from the get-go. And this man, I think you could give him any kind of budget and he could make it work.
Well, that's the thing. This is what this film is exactly what I love about the horror genre so much, especially in my elder years or whatever, when I started working doing film stuff. Is and this is a prime example of it. I love, and why I talk about sort of my love for slashers. And I'm now being a podcaster and just pushing back what I'm going to say with just a lot of details. But you give him $5 and see what he comes back with. You don't give him any more pennies, nothing, and it's effective as hell. Like, he knows his limits, he knows what he can and can't do, and he does push things a bit, but you can truly see where the creative talents lie, the studio hand directors lie and stuff. But you give him that, and only the horror genre can really produce that, in my opinion. I mean, because you have to, to stand out, you have to show some sort of flair, some sort of strengths, and not everybody can do it. And I think it's the perfect, that's why we get so many directors out of horror, because it's the proving ground a bit. But I think it's more than just a proving ground, but it's a perfect ground zero for that, because creatively he has visual effects in this movie, but he doesn't abuse them. And he knows how, because this was a Kickstarter movie,
Mm-hmm.
done for like 25,000, or it ended up being 70,000 in the end, or something like
Yeah,
that. But that's
it's
not a
about,
lot of.
I think it's not a lot of, that's the thing. That's what shocked me when I looked up the budget for this. I
Mhm.
was like, this looks, because some lower budget movies look lower budget. This
Mhm.
one doesn't. It
Right.
doesn't look or feel lower budget, because it's like he came in to this movie like he had a bigger budget, but he used what he had
Mhm.
in such a effective way.
Right. Yeah, because the CG spider thing in it, or whatever it was, uh, I think it was I think some of it was CG, because there was a credit for a visual effects company, but he uses it far in the background, blurry, shadowy, and so you never really see it, but you do see it but it's not enough. It's enough to make your mind think of something haunting, and that's really, really great. And yeah.
Just that whole thing where you're just the idea of it is just so creepy and just
Mhm.
I think sometimes you can show too much
Yeah.
in certain kinds of situations with horror, and Absentia is a perfect example of how you can show so little but still be absolutely terrifying.
Yeah. And I want to say, like, there's a minimalist approach to the ghoul version of the husband, his look when he's popping up around the house and stuff,
Hmm.
that a lot would go overboard, but he's got a really minimal look to it. And it reminded me, and the way he uses it reminded me of Carnival of Souls, the
Hmm.
old black and white movie. And I was like, I was really loving that. I was like, oh, he likes Carnival of Souls. He's my friend still. But they could have gone, like, he does go crazy with the Doug Jones makeup and stuff, but that works. But the husband, he keeps a little minimal, and it's scary as hell. Like, I don't like it when the husband's on screen and I feel uncomfortable. I don't want to look at him. I'm like, no. And that doesn't happen to me a lot with horror. I'm like, been watching it my whole life, almost 40 years now. And I'm just like, but there was times where, like, she said bye to her sister, shut the door. I was like, ah, damn it. And that's a good filmmaker right there, because if you can get me to go, ooh, a little bit, I appreciate you. Like, and
That's the thing. It just makes you so uncomfortable. And
yeah,
oh,
yeah. And it's just, oh gosh, yeah. And I think this movie too, it's kind of sort of in its aesthetic, and somehow sometimes it plays, it's got the strengths of like a really good found footage film at times.
hmm.
Like and that's probably due to like the low budget, the camera that he has to use, nature, but I like that about it too. Because I don't discount the found footage aesthetic and stuff. I think you can make really good stuff with it. Like, we just got an overabundance of cheapies for a good while, but this has some of those flavors of those that make it, like when the sister is in the bathroom and they have the attack towards the end. That's very found
Yep.
footage feeling, and some of the tunnel stuff too. And it's really works well as just normal movie, but it definitely had that. And I was really, really appreciating that. And just the simple, like the simplicity of like the amount of sets, just the little neighborhood geography, just really working for it. I definitely enjoyed the hell out of that. And then just like some of the thematics too, like the guilt of moving on, the dealing with her pregnancy, and then the addiction of the sister, all through lines that the ghosts are, standing in for in places. And that's some of how the best horror works. I mean, yes, it's easy, it's on the nose, but it's effective. And
I think that honestly, that's one thing that he does very well. Especially, I actually wrote a piece over how it just feels like Absentia is thematically tied to Hill House and Doctor Sleep, because you have Callie, Luke, and
mhm,
Dan, and there's just such a realistic portrayal of addiction, but it's also, I think, a very kind portrayal of addiction, because
mhm.
while others in the film and the series might judge the character, um, Flanagan's not.
No, not at all, not at all. um and yeah, he plays his best and honest as he can. And though it's interesting, like, he definitely does a lot of films like about women, and they tend to,
Mhm.
I mean, I think they resonate well with women, which is interesting for a man. But he probably isn't like a soul. He probably listens to his performers. He with a, spouse or writing partner, helps get through. But he tends to be a man writing about women successfully.
Yeah, that's one thing, that's why I fell in love with him as a creative,
Hmm.
because I was like, this is a man. This is a man who can write women. And I was
Right.
so excited.
Hmm.
I was so excited because I was like, this is a man who can write women. I was like, this is amazing. give me more.
Right. Yeah, and I think what Courtney Bell's like the mother of his child or one of his children, the star of this movie. Is that right? Yeah. So they were definitely
Yes.
tied together there, and
Yes.
he's used plenty of people in this film in some of his other works as well, which is a nice nod.
Yeah, because Katie Parker is in she pops up quite a bit. I know that Katie and Courtney are both in Oculus in like blink and you'll miss it roles. Courtney is in Before I Wake. Also, Katie has went on to be she's also in Doctor Sleep. She's in Hill House and she's in Bly.
Yep. Yeah.
I
Yeah. So I
don't know how. I don't know how I memorized that. I feel so weird right now.
Flanagan super fan right here. There you go. There you go. Yeah, this is apparently a take on the Billy Goat Gruff story, which I went through and I loosely got kind of the connection, but do you know more about that deeper connotations?
Here's the thing. What's weird is there's a real weird real life kind of connection to this because there are a lot of like missing like cases that are tied to the map of the cave systems in America. So it's really odd. I was reading about that a while back and it's terrifying. So it kind of links back to that and you're like, what's happening? What's going on here?
Yeah. Okay. There's some light things where like, I guess it could be that. I guess it could be this. But I was expecting to be like, just, I guess more on the nose with it, I suppose. But it's kind of loosely tied there. It was shot in Glendale, California. You ever been to Glendale?
No, I've actually never been out west.
Oh, okay.
I need to go.
Gotcha. I lived there for 4 years. And I didn't live in Glendale for 4 years, but I lived in Los Angeles for 4 years. But yeah, I've been to Glendale. Not around this part, or I would have definitely went around and found that tunnel just to be like, oh hey. But this movie didn't get made till 3 years after I moved away. So there's that.
What's weird is like I live near a walking path and we have an overpass that's almost like that. And every time I go under it, I'm like, oh my God, Absentia. And I literally took a picture of it and sent it to my mother. And I was like, Absentia. And she was like, oh my God, Absentia.
You know, if this was like some huge blockbuster movie, every Halloween or something, you could go in the tunnel and be like, hey, oh, you could see me? Oh. No, right now you do it. They're like, whoa, what? What? They're like, now playing on Amazon Prime, Absentia, go watch it. You'll get my joke.
Hey, at this point, I have pushed this movie on so many people that I might as well do it.
There you go.
Because I'm like, this is great. Everybody go watch.
What's your address? I want to leave some keys there and some trinkets. Oh, yeah, I do have one glaring issue with Mike Flanagan. Not enough of his content is on Blu-ray. It's all streaming stuff, and I want Blu-rays with bonus features. All I have is Oculus, Haunting of Hill House, and Doctor Sleep. That's it. That's his catalog on Blu-ray. Sad.
What's really sad though is like in the past he's talked about wishing that there was a really nice edition of Absentia and like his like Gerald's Game and Hush, and I'm one of those people, I periodically am like, Netflix, I need these movies on a physical format. And like I really hope that like Scream Factory or one of the like boutique brands will pick up Absentia.
That would be cool.
And do like I would love to have like, you know, Mike's commentary, because like looking back at it now, it would be so interesting.
Oh yeah.
And I wish that there was more physical releases for his stuff because I love it. I have a DVD of Absentia. I have everything except for Before I Wake, Hush, and Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
So I have really dug in there.
Yeah. It looked like there was supposed to be a double feature Blu-ray with Gerald's Game and the Thomas Jane Stephen King movie that came out on Netflix at the same time, but it looked like it got abandoned. Looked like there was like a plan for it. But yeah, I would like, give me like a set if you want. Like I'll buy it. Like I really would like to. I mean, they're popular. I mean, he has risen up because of his, output. Oculus was big, but like streaming service seems to be where he picked up, and then they're like, hey, let's give him Dr. Sleep. And now he's, I mean, Dr. Sleep wasn't the financial thing they were hoping for, but I think critically, I think they're seeing people like what he's putting out and resonating with people, even if it's not the huge target audience. But theaters are a whole weird thing right now. But I definitely like his work, and I would like maybe Bly Manor. If they put Hill House on Blu-ray, maybe we'll get Bly Manor.
I want Bly Manor
Uncut,
on
yeah.
Blu. I'm like, it's like I physically need It's like, I don't think you understand Netflix. It's not a want at this point. It is a need. I need it. I need it on my shelf with all my other Flanagan stuff that is meticulously lined up, and I need it.
It's got empty spaces for hopefully the days that they come. Yeah, it's just surprising, but I mean, they're very choosy with what, I mean, maybe he didn't negotiate a home video deal with it, because I know like Scorsese, when he he's like, you guys have to put it out in a physical form, if I do this, and they agree to it, and so that's like, it waits a year, so it has an exclusive window. But I would think Hush would even sell well, but there's people that, I mean, while we think everybody's got Netflix, there's a lot of people that don't, and a lot of people that would want to go to the library or somewhere and pick up one, watch it. It's that physical form. And who knows? I don't want to it may disappear from streaming one day, but I would like it to always be in my library.
Yes, that's how I feel, because I'm like, I don't trust. I like streaming, but I don't 100% trust it.
Right.
And you know what? Like, sometimes your internet goes out and you're like, you know what? I'm just going to put it on. I'm going to put it on.
Yeah.
And you just go pop it in the Blu-ray player, and it's always there.
Even if it's like limited to a couple thousand, do it. I'll get my copy.
Yeah, I'll pay $50 for it if you want Netflix. I mean, I'm that desperate, and I'm like, it's like, not like I don't have a Hush print right there.
I see it right
me.
there. Yes.
And a Hill House print, and I have another Hill House print and a Bly Manor print. Like,
that's amazing.
I have a Flanagan wall.
And you live by the tunnel, so there you go. Like, that's.
It's like, what's more perfect? It's like, it's like, hey, you know what, Netflix, if you want to send me a Blu-ray of it and like have me like push it on people, like review it and be like pop up places and be like, hello, Hush is on Blu-ray, you should go buy that, I will do it. I mean, you know what? If there hadn't been a pandemic, I would have been, it's like, you know what? Do you need me to go door to door to like the voters' houses and stuff for the Emmys and stuff? Because I will sing the gospel of Bly Manor.
Yeah.
I will scream to them about how Tania Miller is one of the best actresses ever, and that you all should feel extremely ashamed for not nominating her for anything, or the rest of them for that matter, because there is not a bad actor in that show, and there was not a bad episode, and it's art, and you're just biased because you all hate horror.
Yeah. No arguments here.
Sorry.
I love that. Excellent.
I have so many pent up feelings about this.
Let them out. I'm here for it. Excellent.
I just usually have poor Emily to just scream at, and my parents, because my dad will call me and I'm like, you know what, Dad, this is stupid. And he's like, you know what? It is stupid. Because I remember like I was already big into the Flanagan stuff, and I showed him Hush. And he's like, this is an amazing movie. And then what was even more funny was he did not realize that John Gallagher Jr. was a killer in it.
Oh.
And then at the end, when the credits show, he goes, that was John Gallagher Jr. And the only reason he knows who he is because I love him as an actor.
Yeah.
And Dad was like, I didn't even realize that was him. Good job. He never realizes it's him till the credits with any movie, but this one especially got him.
Gotcha. That's funny. Oh, no, that Hush is great. Oh, loved it. I actually, after I watched Absentia, I was like, I'm going to watch Hush again. I went and watched, so I had myself a little Flanagan fest this past weekend. So this is What Else? This is where we talk about something else we may have watched, read, listened to, or maybe wrote, put out in the world, produced. So Jamie, what else?
I have a piece that's coming out very soon. Mary Beth McAndrews actually was like, yes, I want this piece for Film Cred, and I'm really excited about it. It is Invisible Man and Bly Manor adjacent, and I'm very proud of it because it's a weirdly personal piece, but also not at the same time. I'm really excited for it though. I was like, you know what? This is a good piece, Jamie. It's like you like yourself today. This is a good piece.
Heck yeah. I'll be sure to
Yeah.
share that when it posts. People can check it out. I'm looking forward to that. You said a couple things I already like already, so there we go. Myself, I'm working on a Blu-ray set of John Hughes movies. Well, only 2 of them because they are the only ones that haven't been on Blu-ray before. The others are all same disc, but one of them, Some Kind of Wonderful. Have you ever seen Some Kind of Wonderful?
No, but isn't that the one that he made after he got pissed off about Pretty in Pink, or am I dreaming that?
That it is
Okay,
the response to Pretty in Pink. Eric Stoltz is Molly Ringwald in this. And Leah Thompson is the Andrew McCarthy character, and Mary Stuart Masterson is Ducky, basically. That's what we have here, and it's played quite a bit more dramatically than Pretty in Pink. Pretty in Pink's way better than this movie. It is kind of a tough. Why there's not fun in it. Characters are kind of tough to like. But if it's an interesting oddity. I'm probably sounding really harsh on it, but it feels kind of feels choppy. It kind of feel like something was there, but it doesn't earn its way to spots. It just kind of jumps in there, and it doesn't filter in a lot of like surrounding characters and things to help flourish. It's a lot of lonely scenes with people that feel like more people should have been involved. Craig Sheffer in it is deliciously evil. He is a jackass, and he's good at it. And yeah, he's enjoyable. Elias Cotes as a like skinhead biker dude, that's good. But it's Stoltz. He's a very like I think it wasn't until Tarantino people could get like fun out of the guy. But you can see why, like, he wouldn't work as Marty McFly. But this is your chance to see him and Leah Thompson in a movie together. If you were mad about Back to the Future back in '85 and wanted that, but I would joke and say it's some kind of terrible, but it's not really terrible. It's just underwhelming. Very much so, but I've seen it now. I'd heard about it for a while, and I was like, I need to check that out. But now that I'm reviewing this Blu-ray set, there is a good Howard Deutsch who did Pretty in Pink, the director of that, directs this, and there's a good short interview with him on the disc looking back at it, which he was married to Leah Thompson for a while as well. And this is where they met, because she apparently turned down this movie. Howard the Duck came out, and then she went back to this movie. So that happened. But yes, so that'll do it for Go ahead. You're fine.
It's like, hey, you know, at least you met your husband, I guess. Like, there's some silver lining there.
Yes. We got, and we had Zoe, so here we go. Yeah. But that'll do it for today on the show. Jamie, it's been wonderful having you, and I'm so happy to meet you rather than just Twitter and stuff. But your pick was awesome. And please let people know where they can find and keep up with you.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter as @Jamie A. Wright, because that's the only thing I could come up with at the time. And on Instagram, you can find me just @Jamie Alvey.
All right, excellent. And I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Brandon4KUHD. The written work is at whysobblue.com. There's more from the Brandon Peters Show this week. But until then, always remember to keep the positivity in your online film chatter.
Thank you for listening. The Brandon Peters Show is a Creative Zombie Studios production. Produced by Brad Shoemaker and Brandon Peters. Written and edited by Brandon Peters. Announcer vocals by Jessica Alsman. Theme song by Metavari. Web design and show art by Brad Shoemaker with Brandon Peters. All music and clips featured in the episode are property of their respective studios, and no infringement is intended. Additional information on this and other episodes at BrandonPetersShow.com. For any inquiries, press opportunities, or sponsorship, contact mail at BrandonPetersShow.com. The show is available on Apple Music, Spotify, or anywhere podcasts are found.